Now, the other thing that you want to take into consideration is, normally if this was a drawing that I was doing for myself, I'd already have tone in here. And the tone thing is very important because I draw better with shape. But I'm going to hold off on the tone, and that's for a practical reason, and that reason is that I don't want to smudge it right off the bat. The other cool thing about working this whole light to dark way is that I decided to do the background like I showed you in the chapter number 1 of, or the chapters number 1 of value. So it's value and then compartments. Okay, so anything, any mistake that I've done, any mistake line, that could just be turned into background tone. And this, what materials am I using again, just to kind of repeat myself? I'm using a 70-pound paper. I decided to do this on regular paper and not Bristol paper because I want it to have like a soft feel. I don't want it to have a hard edge feel. I really want this to be soft and atmospheric. So the beauty about this paper is that I can erase pretty good and it's soft, and anything that I don't like in terms of like my initial lines, that just all becomes, you know, background tone and texture. Texture will be like our last thing that I talk about. So I'm looking at the distance from here to here. Basically what I'm doing is I'm looking at the distance from here to my shadow line, and over here at bottom rib cage is kind of soft. Which breast is higher than the other? So now what I'm going to do is, this is my first gesture line. I'm going to go from this cast shadow straight across. And I know that I'm running the risk right now of annoying some of you at home watching this just because I've got this so light. So I promise you, right, this will be my last light chapter if you can just hang in there with me, because again, my whole theory here is working light to dark. So looking at this, I'm going to have to raise the whole head, neck area, not head, and raise the shoulder area. There's a few things I've got to raise. I'm just really taking my time with the measurements. Now, if you don't do this every day, you're not going to get the measurements correct. You've got to get into the habit of doing this for even like 10 minutes, 5 minutes a day. Let's be like minimal. 5 minutes of your time during your day, you look at one object. It doesn't have to be a cast. It could be books on a shelf. It could be your computer and the negative space between your computer and your keyboard. If you just draw that negative space, you will keep your eye-hand coordination fresh, and that will prevent you from kind of getting frustrated with yourself if your measurements aren't dead on. Now, basically, that's my first measurement tweak. I just pull the arm to the right a little bit. So I don't want to get stuck. I want to keep moving, and this is what you want to do too. Don't get stuck. I'm looking at the measurement from here to here, and this is old school. I'm just totally relying on my eye. No tools but my eyes and my hands. Okay, so what I should really do now is pull lines straight down from where the, chipped off part of the neck is. Pull that straight down, and the breast, the center of the breast is to the left. So I've got that. That's cool. So now I don't want to get too entrapped in too much detail up here. I still want to keep it simple. So we're working macro angles first. I'm going to raise this shoulder. Macro to micro. Again, not super sexy, not super fast, but you get good results in the end if you can do it that way. Okay, so I just made two major measurements. I raised this, and I move that over to the right. So what I need to do next is I just need to do a little bit more in the center of this cast before I really start to press down on one section. I know I've got a lot of mistakes. I can just feel it, but I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to get frustrated and start all over. I'm just going to kind of keep going. Put a little bit of some information in the center now. So I start to use the center measurements, and I'm not so edge-centric. Okay, so what I should do now is pull a line straight down from here. Now, I kind of forget to do this sometimes. So if I'm holding my pencil straight out, and my navel, I've got to remind myself to do that because I'm no different than you at home. I forget. So my navel is going to be right about here. So it's not in the center. This navel is a crucial measurement line that I've got to get. So I'm trying to get the navel in, and I'm also looking at this, what's right across from that. So again, different techniques for different drawings. If this was a 20-minute drawing, I would be doing these like measurements for a split second in my mind. I really wouldn't be too concerned with them because it's different if you're working on like a 5-minute sketch. You're just kind of trying to get the essence of the model in, and you're not going for exact measurements. So just understand that different times of your drawing, the duration that you spend will dictate the technique. That's one way, because again, a lot of students ask me, well, I don't know what technique to use when. Well, a simple way to know what technique you should use when is how much time do you have on your drawing. And if you're working with limited time, you're not going to be drawing this way. So now I see I have an opportunity to make the cast a little bit skinnier right over here because I'm seeing this line. It's almost kind of going across. And she's still, the cast is still a little wide to me. I think maybe if I were to get rid of this line over here, I'm going to make it background tone because my hand won't smudge that. Okay, and now, oh, I see what's going on here. This arm is much lower than my cast shadow. So here's my cast shadow. So now I'm looking at negative space right over here, the black of the fabric, the dark of the fabric, I should say, the dark blue, not black. And I'm just going to get some of the angles here with this cylinder. I'm not concerned about having a sharp edge. I'm still going very light and very soft, and that's a practical thing. The lighter and soft I go, the less I have to erase. And it's just so much easier. Okay, I'm going to get in the bottom of this cylinder. And just still doing my measurements. Angles. Okay, so we're getting there now. We're getting there a little bit. So now what I could do, work on this for a little while longer. I just want to look at, I'm looking at this negative space. This is going to be, again, an opportunity for me to make her a little bit skinnier in the center here. She's really skinny in the center. And I'm looking at the distance from here to here. This is really the way that I've always drawn. And I feel very comfortable holding my pencil back here like this. It's definitely easier for me to do this. And then once I get to the tone, then it gets much easier as well because it's just a natural way for me to draw. And it's harder for me to draw. It's an unnatural way for me to draw. The quicker way, holding my pencil down, doing the gesture line. I mean, I can do it, but it's not my first way. And so you got to think about, what is your way that you really like to draw? Which is your natural way? So I'm doing some interior angles. I see what's going on over here. Okay, so I'm going to move everything over. So do you see how methodical I'm being with this? We're going to stop this soon. We're at like 9 minutes. And this is going to take a few DVDs, no doubt about it. This is different than a short tutorial. So now this kind of kicks her over all the way to the left. As soon as I take that 16th. So I made a 16th of an inch measurement, 16th of an inch measurement over here. So I'm really being subtle. Let's stop the tape and we'll be right back.